The Navy SEALs mocked the quiet combat nurse until her Marine past was revealed. The laughter started before she even finished setting her bag down. It wasn't cruel at first, just the kind of rough humor that lived permanently inside a forward operating base, where exhaustion replaced manners and survival replaced sensitivity. The temporary field hospital smelled of antiseptic mixed with dust blown in from helicopters landing every hour. Outside, generators hummed like distant thunder, while wounded soldiers rotated in and out non-stop. Inside, Navy SEAL operators leaned against supply crates, watching the newest arrival unpack medical equipment with quiet precision. She didn't look like what they expected. Petty Officer Jackson nudged Ramirez and muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. "That's our new combat nurse? Command really thinks Band-Aids are gonna stop bullets now?" A few chuckles followed. Someone else added, "Hope she doesn't faint when things get loud." The woman didn't react. She continued organizing syringes, trauma kits, and surgical tools, with movements so controlled they almost seemed rehearsed. Her name tag read, Harper. No rank displayed beyond medical assignment, no stories attached, just another replacement sent into chaos. To the SEALs, replacements were temporary. Most didn't last long mentally out here. Lieutenant Cole, team leader of SEAL Team Echo, watched silently from the doorway. He noticed things others missed, the way Harper scanned exits before choosing where to stand, how she positioned equipment within arm's reach, how her back never faced an open entrance for more than a second. Still, even he assumed she was simply nervous. New arrivals always were. The teasing continued through the afternoon. When a helicopter dropped off 2 injured Rangers, Harper moved instantly, slipping gloves on before anyone asked. Her voice stayed calm, steady, authoritative without being loud. "Vitals dropping. I need pressure here, now." One of the SEALs hesitated, surprised by the command tone. She didn't repeat herself. She simply looked at him once, and something in that look made him obey without question. Within minutes, bleeding stabilized, airway secured, patient alive. Jackson crossed his arms afterward. "Lucky guess," he said. Harper said nothing. She cleaned her hands and reset the station as if saving lives under pressure was routine. Night settled over the desert base quickly. Floodlights cast long shadows, while distant gunfire echoed miles away. The hospital quieted for the first time all day. SEALs gathered near the entrance, drinking stale coffee, still trading jokes about the silent nurse. Ramirez grinned. "Bet she's never even fired a weapon." Another operator laughed. "Probably screams if someone slams a door." Harper sat alone, reviewing medical logs, expression unreadable. She heard every word. She simply chose not to respond. Around midnight, the first explosion hit. The ground shook violently, lights flickered, and alarms screamed through the compound. Dust rained from the ceiling as another blast followed, closer this time. Lieutenant Cole grabbed his rifle instantly. Incoming attack! Gunfire erupted outside. Automatic, coordinated, far too organized to be random insurgents. This was planned. The perimeter guards shouted over comms before static swallowed their voices. Then came the worst realization. The field hospital sat near the outer defensive ring. They were the softest target. Bullets tore through canvas walls. Medical equipment shattered. A wounded soldier screamed as rounds struck nearby crates. The SEALs moved into defensive formation, returning fire through openings while dragging patients to cover. Chaos exploded in seconds. Harper didn't freeze. She overturned surgical tables to create barricades, pulling injured men behind reinforced supply cases. "Move the critical patients first," she ordered. Jackson glanced at her, startled again by the certainty in her voice. Another explosion rocked the building, collapsing part of the entrance frame. Shadows moved outside, armed gunmen advancing directly towards the hospital. One attacker breached the side entrance, rifle raised. Before any SEAL could pivot fully, Harper moved, smooth, fast, instinctive. She grabbed a fallen sidearm from the floor, stepped forward, and fired twice with perfect control. The attacker dropped instantly. Silence hit the room for half a second, not from safety, but shock. Jackson stared. What the hell? More gunmen rushed the entrance. Harper didn't hesitate. She reloaded without looking, movements automatic, positioning herself beside Cole like she'd trained beside operators her entire life. "They're flanking left," she said calmly. Cole's eyes narrowed. She was right. He adjusted defense immediately. Outside, gunfire intensified. Inside, Harper transitioned between roles seamlessly, returning fire, then dropping to stabilize a bleeding soldier, then back to covering the entrance. No panic, no wasted motion. Ramirez whispered under fire, "That's not medical training." Another enemy pushed through smoke. Harper advanced instead of retreating, forcing attackers back long enough for SEALs to regain control of the perimeter. Her stance, triggered discipline, situational awareness, everything screamed combat experience. After 15 brutal minutes, reinforcements arrived. Enemy forces retreated into darkness. Gunfire faded, leaving only ringing ears and wounded groans. The hospital stood damaged but operational. Lives saved. Attack repelled. Breathing heavily, Jackson turned toward Harper. She was kneeling beside a patient again, hands steady despite everything, like nothing unusual had happened. Cole approached slowly. "You want to explain where you learned to shoot like that?" Harper paused only briefly before continuing treatment. "Experience." Ramirez shook his head. "No medic moves like that." Silence stretched. Finally, Cole noticed something partially exposed beneath her sleeve. A faded tattoo revealed as blood soaked the fabric. Eagle, globe, anchor. Every Marine recognized it instantly. Jackson's eyes widened. "You've got to be kidding me." Harper sighed quietly, knowing the secret was finished. She rolled her sleeve fully, revealing the insignia worn only by United States Marines. Not ceremonial, earned, combat earned. "Former Force Recon," she said simply. The room went still. Even hardened SEAL operators exchanged stunned looks. Force Recon Marines weren't ordinary soldiers. They operated deep behind enemy lines, often alone, often forgotten. Elite among elites. Ramirez laughed once in disbelief. "We've been mocking a recon Marine all day?" Harper finally allowed the faintest smile. "You weren't entirely wrong. I am a nurse." Cole crossed his arms, respect replacing skepticism. "Why transfer?" Her expression darkened slightly. "Too many teammates who didn't make it because medical support arrived too late. Figured I could fight and keep people alive at the same time." Outside, dawn began creeping over the horizon. Helicopters approached with backup forces, while smoke drifted from destroyed barricades. Inside the hospital, the SEALs worked beside her differently now. No jokes, no doubt, only trust earned under fire. Jackson handed her fresh supplies quietly. "Ma'am, earlier we didn't know." Harper glanced at him briefly. "You weren't supposed to." Cole looked around at his team, then back at her. "You saved every man in here tonight." She shook her head. "We saved each other." But everyone knew the truth. When gunmen stormed the field hospital, when fear could have taken control, the quiet combat nurse they mocked became the warrior who held the line. And from that night forward, whenever new personnel arrived and underestimated the calm woman organizing medical gear in the corner, the SEALs simply exchanged knowing looks and said nothing, because legends didn't need introductions. They revealed themselves when survival demanded it.